Thank you for making me so emotional. Amazing what can be known when you're in your heart. So today we start the month theme called Creating a Consciousness of Acceptance, or cultivating a consciousness of acceptance. We just got finished teaching a 30-day online course called Prosperity Me, and Reverend Monica was the lead facilitator on that. Congratulations. I knew you grew, and I knew other people grew as well. Thank you very much for all your work. And you know, this is really, in that conversation of prosperity, you know, we still look outward. We still reach for our identification as prosperous human beings with form, as opposed to with truth and with principle and the activation and practice of principle. It is relatively new to us. You know, according to how many years we've lived our life another way, we're still cultivating this idea and learning how to practice and demonstrate these principles of the universe, these natural, beautiful, universal laws that flow and create. They create and they destroy, and they create and they destroy because that's a natural process, right, of life, of evolution, of expansion. We often tend to get stuck when we see things falling apart or winding down, or when there's an open space or a void and we have no idea how to fill it. And we are almost stuck. We can't activate ourselves into doingness. We can't do anything about it. We just have to be in it. I am there. I have been there for months and months. It seems like it's gone on forever. But in reality, it's just a snippet of the passage that I'm moving through in the natural unfolding perfection of the universal creative process. And I say amen to that. Don't we all? Take a breath, take a breath. Where is this going? But cultivating a consciousness of acceptance is asking us to be prepared for the moment or the day when that within us that knows speaks. And says yes fully to our life without reserve. We are preparing for that day. And as we're preparing, the key is to notice the small things, the seemingly insignificant things that are about us and are within us and our feelings, and be with them. That's part of the preparation, because cultivating a consciousness of acceptance asks us to be present. So you can see how we need to extract ourselves, our identification from form. Part of the way we do that is we become more objective, more of a sacred witness. We are watching our life, knowing that this is the effect in form of what has gone before in mind. It doesn't mean it's who we are. It just means what has come through us by means of us and by means of the creative process, this universal creative process. When that within us that knows, when that moment comes, or that awareness comes, when our beauty and bounty is revealed to us clearly and tangibly, it takes our breath away often, because we really weren't expecting it. We really weren't ready to receive it oftentimes. But if we cultivate the consciousness of acceptance, we will just be that open channel for it to move through us. We won't be grabbing onto it when it happens, going, oh my God, finally it's here and I don't want to lose it. No. Today's talk is just say no. What a fabulous segue. Thanks, Spirit. Just say no. Now you might think I should have said just say yes, right? But no, I'm not like that anyway, right? Life is just one big juxtaposition, right? One big paradox. So what are we saying no to? Well, let me tell you. I have it right here in my notes. In order to cultivate a consciousness of acceptance, to a greater possibility in mind, and a life filled with that peace and love and joy and prosperity, to understand that there is a friendly universe always saying yes to us, we must learn to just say no. Just say no to all that deters and distracts us from being at home in ourselves. We must just say no when we hear ourselves arguing for our limitations. We must just say no when we feel others' needs and wants beginning to negate our needs and wants. We must just say no when we try to convince ourselves that facts are real and that we are powerless to effect change. We must just say no when we want to rush and be impulsive with our actions to just get through this moment, or this day, or this week. And often it seems this lifetime. I actually had to just say no to myself this week. I had a moment where I said, if I could just kind of move this movie ahead about 12, 15 years, then I'd be retired. And then I'd know what I was doing. Can I just wipe out these years in between? I'm going to get there anyway, and it's going to come faster than a blink of an eye. So why don't I just be there? Because I can't figure it out. I can figure out that I need to surrender. I can figure out that I need to do more spiritual practice. I can figure out that I need to just be where I am and be present. I can figure all that out. And I can do it. And I do it. And I still don't know. You think when you connect with God, you're supposed to know something. You're supposed to get something on the other end of it. Just say no to that idea. Just say no. May we remember that our part is to accept fully the fact that the creative law within us knows. And not only knows, but performs every right action at the right time. That it synchronizes all impulses toward the event. It is its nature to do so. It could not do otherwise. So let us take the time as we cultivate the consciousness of acceptance to redirect our mind to focus on the wonder of this knowing intelligence that lives within us. See, we're building a bridge from the egoic mind that is poised in the past to create the future to mindful awareness in the presence and the present of what is. That's what we're doing as we cultivate a consciousness of acceptance. We learn to say no. And it's hard for a lot of us. It's hard for me. How many of you have wanted, of course you've wanted to say no, but you've said yes, right? Because an impending list of justifications and reasons that are really good and logical to you. But at the bottom of it, if you tally it all up, it keeps me liked, it keeps me in the game, it keeps me poised, it keeps me safe, it keeps me loved, it keeps me whatever, even connected to the outer world. Because if we really just said no, we would only be in relationship with ourselves and our God. And that's pretty scary to a lot of us, a lot of the time. Because we need to function in this world, right? But this is what the spiritual path gives us, this undergirding of knowing that as within, so without. We don't have to go there first. Just say no to that. How many of you have another list, not only of here's your reasons why you've said no or yes when you wanted to say no, and over here are the excuses that you've made in order to do it. As an entrepreneur and self-employed in part, I get to use this one all the time. I'm booked. I'm booked. I'm booked, I'm booked. That's my favorite one. When we were in ministerial school, they said, don't ever do anything or accept anything on Saturday nights. because you've got to, study and research and prepare your talk for Sunday mornings. I really stopped following that model probably several years ago. And sometimes I pull it out and dust it off. So take a moment, and whoever you're with, just have a little discussion in this moment about what it is that you just need to say no to as you're cultivating your own consciousness of acceptance to your unbound glory and good. Just take a moment. Okay, just take a few minutes or a few seconds to wrap it up. You are so full of wisdom and truth. Sometimes we just have to get out of the way the answers that we're looking for, or the specific question that we seek, and expand our mind even farther. And when we can express, it allows us to do that. It shifts the energy. Anyone want to share an insight? Did anyone get anything, or realize anything for themselves in that question as they were discussing? Helen?
Talking about how you need the positives and the negatives to sort of balance out. And my wonderful partner Doug said, gosh, it would be horrible if you had to wake up every day and say, God, another perfect day. A new moment of gratitude is going to be, thank you for giving me a not perfect day today.
Great. Yeah. Because as we move ourselves from that connection of identification with the happenings of the day, and we just be with it and move ourselves, and if we witness it, we detach, and we can see it for what it is, and we can just let it be. And when we let things be, we can appreciate them more. When we accept them, we let them be, we accept them, we can appreciate them. They don't define us. Because we want to be free. Don't we? We want to be free. Because we are free. We were born free, right? Uh-oh. Oh, I have to go, born free. Oh, join me as the wind blows. I never thought I'd ever say that from the pulpit. Born free. So here's what Holmes says. He says that the science that we teach does not promise something for nothing. It does, however, tell us that if we comply with the law complies with us. No man can demonstrate peace and cling to unhappiness. He can demonstrate resignation and call it peace, but it will not be peace. No man can jump into the water and remain dry. This is contrary to law and to reason. No person whose entire time is spent in the contemplation of limitation can demonstrate freedom from such limitation. So as we're cultivating our consciousness acceptance, we're learning to just say no to the things that bring us the sensation and the feeling and secure the thoughts in mind that are limited to who we are and what is possible by means of us in relationship, in co-creative relationship with the natural laws of this universe. I'm going to share a story with you. It comes from The Power of Why by Amanda Lang. And it's the story of shrimp farming and the shrimp farming challenges that were in the U.S. some time back. And there was a man named Lawrence, and Lawrence was a shrimp farmer. And there was lots of kvetching and whining and, loss of jobs and lowering of income and fear because the shrimp farming wasn't doing so well. And so they all got together and they decided that the best thing to do would to be create greenhouses so that they could farm these shrimp at a faster rate. And but the premise was The premise was so that it could serve and uplift the U.S. economy as well, right? That's a good for all kind of a goal. But Lawrence didn't sit with that. While his colleagues in the industry were busy creating greenhouses to increase the number of shrimp that were farmed, he did nothing. He just thought about it, and he prayed about it, and he said, there's got to be something even greater than this. What is it? You know, with all this upset right now in the economy and within this industry, I'm not going to jump to what seems to be the right solution just because everyone else is there and doing it. And I'm going to bite the bullet and let go of my judgments on myself for not participating and contributing, which in something that's going to help, obviously, because I think there's something better. And so first of all, he got clear with his purpose. His purpose for participating as a shrimp farmer was not only to feed his family and to give himself a quality life, and his purpose for contributing to a solution was not only to increase the economic standards of the U.S., but it was to feed the world. He got it. And he didn't shrink back. It took as long as it took, and it took several years for him to develop and test a system where they didn't go horizontal and grow shrimp in greenhouses, because you need light in greenhouses, where it was light most of the time to produce X amount of shrimp. He decided to go vertical and build up. But then, of course, shrimps normally, harvesting of this shrimp normally takes 3 feet of water. And he couldn't build up floor upon floor upon floor because 3 feet of water was too heavy. But he just broke down all concepts around shrimp farming. And it ended up that he could grow shrimp in 12 inches of water, which was what was the maximum weight to grow vertical. You can Google that. But here it is. He just said no to what was and even to an idea that was bigger than the one that they had. So when we talk about cultivating a consciousness of acceptance, what is the limitation you're putting on acceptance for yourself? And how many times will you say no to yourself when you, again, start to conjure up ideas that are limiting to the greatest possibility in the mind of God and the field of pure potentiality, as Chopra likes to call it? Build up. See the metaphor? See the metaphor? Yes. Yes. Build up. Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about it in his book, The New Earth. And he talks about, he was actually interviewed by Robert Julian's daughter, Reverend Julian, I can't think of his first name. And I found it on Google. Who is to know? So here is a person schooled in science of mind interviewing Eckhart Tolle, which was absolutely perfect for me today. And one of the questions she asks is, in your vision of a new earth, the purpose of life involves what you call awakened doing. What do you mean by this? And he says, most people treat the present moment as if it were an obstacle that they needed to overcome. Since the present moment is life itself, it is an insane way to live. In awakened doing, there is complete internal alignment with the present moment and whatever you are doing right now. The doing is then not primarily a means to an end, but an opening for consciousness to come into this world. Aligning ourselves with the now is aligning ourselves with universal purpose. The purpose of the whole, just like Lawrence was doing. And he had to say no to a lot until he felt the right yes arise within him. What is the purpose of the whole? Toll says the birth and flowering of consciousness. The whole then guides you in whatever you think or do. He says, awakened doing has three modalities. Depending on circumstances and the nature of the activity, they are acceptance, enjoyment, and enthusiasm. If there is neither acceptance, enjoyment, or enthusiasm in what you do, you are out of alignment with universal purpose. What do you need to just say no to in order to be more enthusiastic in your life, in order to have more acceptance or more enjoyment? This is what creates suffering. Being out of alignment. We know that's true on our way to the chiropractor. So Science of Mind says to Tolle, do you believe that humanity is ready for transformation? Yes. I see signs that it's already happening. Because if there's no change in consciousness now, it's kind of evolve or die. I'm sure you've heard that slogan. Evolve or die. Science of Mind says, you say in your new book that for humanity to make this transformation, there needs to be a shift from objective consciousness to space consciousness. Can you explain that? Now, you heard me say in the talk today, in order to move, building a bridge from egoic mind, right, into present mind or mindful awareness, part of being mindfully aware is to take that place of sacred witness, is to deconstruct this identity that you have in relationship to objects, right? To have objective consciousness means that, but he's going a step further. He's saying you need to create space consciousness, which literally means being aware that you are aware. So you can be objective. Here's the object that I'm in relationship with, and then I have this kind of experience of myself, so I'm being subjective. I'm in it. Maybe I'm in the person's story, or there's something I need to get, or whatever the attachment is here. Now I kind of tell myself, this isn't my source, and I tell myself a few things, and I can feel myself moving back a bit and detaching a bit, right? That I get to create my reality. I'm not, right? We all know that. That's step one in Science of Mind. Now we're witnessing that we were subjective and now we're objective, but our focus is still on the condition. So Tolle is saying, take another step again. It's likened to Holmes' statement, I am the thinker behind the thought. So you need to in order to be mindfully aware and to be aware that you are aware, which is being fully present with the subjective relationship, with the sacred witness relationship, and in space consciousness. We need to be cultivating a consciousness of acceptance of the truth of who we are and the universal intelligence within us. Tapping in, tapping in, tapping in, tapping in. Being one with it, being one with it, being one with it. This is the way that consciousness expands, evolves, and our planet remains. So, Science of Mind at the end says, can you suggest some ways to stay focused in the now? Notice the little things around us. I mentioned it earlier. Paying attention to details such as the birds and the trees and the flowers in the garden or the park. Just notice the beauty everywhere, even in the smallest things. To notice seemingly insignificant things requires alertness. That alertness is the key. It is the unconditioned. Awareness is unconditioned. Consciousness is unconditioned. It has no specificity or specific attachment. It just is. In that we are free. And we can visit there anytime we want. But we're the ones that have to do the work to bridge from our egoic mind and our relationships and our beliefs about ourselves that are limited to our relationships in the outer world to mindful awareness and the consciousness in which we were born, and we keep being rebirthed by choice. The last question was, is it more desirable to practice to free the mind from thinking? Because often we say in Science of Mind, and often one of our takeaways is, well, we just need to think positive thoughts and we'll be okay, rather than negative thoughts. And so that has us divided, because we're going to think negative thoughts. So to try to push them over there or hide them under a bushel or whatever, it doesn't work, right? Because we know it happens. So we want to embrace, we've already come to this place of knowing that we need to embrace all of it. All of what we think, all of what we are, all of what life is. Because as soon as we resist it, right, we stay right where we are. We don't evolve and expand. So we've got that one. Right? But Tolle says, practice no thinking. Years ago at a seminar, I think I had a talk about that. You know, what's beyond new thought? No thought. Folks, no thought at all. Because then you're practicing mindful awareness. You're open to the flow of consciousness and its unbound glory and abundance in your own experience of life. So you see how cultivating a consciousness of acceptance is really a beautiful dance with the invisible, as opposed to the visible. You will put on your dancing shoes and become limber and lithe in this physical realm when you take dance lessons with the invisible. It's just the natural outpicturing and unfoldment of the law. When Teilhard de Chardin, as a Jesuit seminarian, was serving as a stretcher bearer in no man's land between the French and the German lines in World War I, he had a sudden revelation that underlying the conflict was a desire to resolve the seemingly irreconcilable differences that pitted the two sides against each other. Just say no to the conflict. And realize, as you just say no, that you are cultivating a consciousness of acceptance by realizing, like Lawrence the shrimp farmer did, that there is something far greater that is being readied to emerge by means of you.